When you're watching a film, one of the first things you're gonna see are above the line production credits. A lot of times that includes several producers. I've seen movies with 4 to 5, along with executive producers, associate producers, and I always wondered, what is a producer? Well, today we're gonna break down what exactly a producer is and where their role is in the modern content creating space. You might be asking yourself, what does a producer do? Well, a variety of things, and this is all gonna be production dependent. Number one is budgeting. The producer is gonna be the one who creates the one sheet and has an understanding of where all of the allocated funds are going in order to maximize profit, efficiency, and productivity. Number two, crewing. A lot of producers, including myself, utilize their network of production crew in their area or wherever they're producing to bring the project to life. This means a variety of different things. You could have above the line resources like cinematographers you prefer to work with, gaffers you like to work with, sound mixers you like to work with. All of these crew contacts really make a production flow. Now there's nothing wrong with hiring people for the day and having a day player. It works out great a lot of times, but it also works like shit a lot of times. Crew connectivity, that synergy on set is important, and as a producer, you're going to know how to maximize that and bring that to your set. Another really big thing a producer does is just ultimately making sure the entire project is going as planned. Sometimes shoots get crazy and a lot of things can happen unexpectedly. What a producer is gonna do is utilize their skills of thinking outside of the box, always thinking steps ahead in order to avoid those or to dilute those problems and to fix them and control them so things can continue to move on as planned. Is a producer creative? That's really dependent on the producer. Personally, I'm a creative producer. I have a lot of involvement in story, stylization. I also know that there's team members that I brought on my set that are going to be able to deliver that vision better than me, so that's why they have the role that they do and I have the role that I do. Ultimately, from start to finish, a producer is going to be involved in making sure the project is seen through and completed in the best way possible. Going into the responsibilities of a producer on a smaller project, let's say realistically like between that $5,000 to $10,000 range, where are they gonna be? Well, a producer's gonna wear multiple hats. So I think a lot of times you'd look at a producer and you'd be like, okay, they're gonna get everything facilitated for me. They're also possibly gonna be on site, maybe primarily as their role on site is gonna be more like an assistant director or a line producer / showrunner where they're kind of just making sure everything's happening on time. And these are all things you have to realize. It's like you can always say, and crew members say this a lot, that's what a AD is for, that's what a PA is for. Yeah, you're right, it is. But we're not talking about productions that have budgets like that. We're talking about $5,000 to $10,000 budgets. A $5,000 to $10,000 budget doesn't mean you can't profit. It just means you have to think a little differently with how you crew in order to maximize the way you do profit. I know plenty of people in this space that work under $15,000 in videos that have found a way to create great careers for themselves because they properly allocated funds. It's just a smaller scale. How would you look at budgeting, or how do you know if you can afford a producer? Well, I look at it this way. If you're a cinematographer and you don't like handling logistics and you typically shoot and direct, you might look at hiring a producer and the rate would be probably comparable to yours. They're both above the line positions, so the day rate without gear included would be somewhat of a guidelines for you to be like, hey, I have this $7,000 ad. I'm trying to clear most of it myself. I'm gonna hire an operator. I could probably budget in this percentage for Dan or someone else to come in to handle all these roles and responsibilities. The difference is a lot of the things a producer does happens before the shoot. So multiple days are needed to be factored in. A lot of producers will work like 1 to 2 days prior to the majority of the crew in order to get everything facilitated. You normally can work out, does the day rate stay the same, or is there a pre-production rate that's a little different? It all depends on the project, but keep that in mind. Jumping on and just being a producer for 1 day, it's not super realistic. There's things that need to happen beforehand, and that's really where the value comes in. Let's talk about what makes a good producer. First and foremost, a producer needs to understand all aspects of production. If you've only done one thing in your entire career in the industry, it's hard to really translate and manage multiple departments. I would say I've dabbled in a little bit of most everything in the departments outside of production design. Therefore, when someone comes up to me and says, hey, I need this for my sound kit, or I need this for my camera kit, the language isn't foreign. I understand the basis and I understand kind of where to go and how to speak the language with that specific crew member. This also comes down to when you're crewing, because when you're crewing and you're speaking to professionals, you need to be able to understand in regards to negotiating and creating the best deals. Another really important skill a producer needs to have is communication. It's something that some people just thrive with and others don't. That means not being afraid to have a phone call, send a couple text messages following up with someone not responding, and also sending emails, having proper email etiquette so when you're responding with clients copied in or BCC'd, you feel like a professional is handling and navigating the show. Next up is just a logical thinker. And this doesn't mean you have to be a complete type A personality. It just means that you think logically. This allows you to guide and navigate overzealous, overambitious creatives and to like channel their energy and passion and put it into the box that their budget allows. The last thing that I'll say that makes a good producer is someone who always thinks in the best interest of the project. Typically, a producer is going to be on the project from the start to the finish. Therefore, they're going to have some sort of relationship with the project that might be a little different than a day player or someone strictly on below the line crew. I'm not saying a producer works harder than those people. I'm just saying they're having more involvement and attachment. Therefore, they're always going to be looking out for the production and always going to be thinking about what's going to make this project the best it can possibly be. Why do you need to hire a producer? Well, let me tell you this. There's a few reasons why. Number one, maximize profitability. Every project's gonna be different, every project's gonna have different profit margins, but I can assure you a good producer is going to allow you to maximize each and every line item in order for you to make the most money possible. How does that work? Well, let's say you have a $10,000 project and you say, look, Dan, I really wanna clear 50% of this. I'm gonna be editing, I'm gonna be handling most of the creative. How can we do this? Well, I'm gonna sit down, see your ideal margin, work in my rate, and then do my absolute best to produce a budget that allows you to create that 50% margin for yourself. Another big component of hiring a producer is increasing productivity for you, the creative. If you're a director, a cinematographer, you may not want to be bogged down with all of the logistical components of what goes into turning your vision into a reality. And that's essentially what a producer does. They're gonna sit down and analyze what you need and handle that for you while you can be focusing on other things. Sometimes it's really hard to go back and forth between the creative and the logistical side of your brain, so this really helps out in that perspective. All right guys, so hopefully that helps break down a little bit more insight on what exactly a producer is and what a producer can do, like me, for you on set. Now, I'm Dan of Drescher Visuals. We run a full service production agency here in Atlanta. If you are interested in getting in touch and learning about what we can do for you, shoot us a message. We also offer one-on-one consulting. If you're looking to get an hour session, click the link below and we'll talk to you soon.